On this day in 1896, a players' strike left Celtic to play Hibernian with only 10 men. The roots of the trouble that broke out before Celtic's league match against Hibernian on the 28th of November 1896 lay in the previous weekend's Glasgow Cup final replay, lost 2-1 to Rangers at Cathkin Park after playing with 10 men for the last half hour after Sandy McMahon was injured. Celtic's first great side that had won the Scottish Cup in 1892 and the League Championship in 1893 and 1894 were slowly breaking up, and with them went the artistry the club had become famous for. The newspapers had been critical of what had become a more physical approach of late, and 3 players in particular had come in for what they saw as unfair criticism in press reports of the replayed final. As an example, the Daily Record, after singling out incidents involving Peter Meekin and Barney Battles, wrote on the 23rd of November 1896, "The play was marked occasionally by incidents of roughness on the part of 2 Celts and 1 Ranger, which left a disagreeable impression on the spectators and was certainly to be deplored. Above all considerations, players with any pretensions to manliness bemean themselves and tarnish the reputation of their clubs by association." All seemed normal on the day of the match against Hibernian, until 15 minutes before the scheduled 2:30 p.m. kick-off. A team photo was to be taken, and when Willie Maley went into the dressing room to hurry them out, Meekin, Battles and John Divers announced they would not be playing unless the press box was cleared, and that they would do it themselves if necessary. It was treated as a joke initially, but it soon became apparent they were deadly serious, and the dressing room was cleared of all but players and committee men. The Daily Record of the 30th of November 1896 carried a detailed report of the incident, writing, "Messrs Glass, Shaughnessy, McLaughlin and Maley expostulated with the malcontents, pointing out the ridiculous nature of the demand and its consequences. Arguments and reasons were in vain. Kelly, Doyle and other players tried to persuade their now excited brethren to take a rational view of the situation, to show their loyalty to the club by turning out, and to take proper and legitimate action to redress whatever grievances existed. But Meekin, Battles and Divers remained obstinate and proceeded to resume their ordinary garb." The 3 walked out, but were met by Mick Dunbar, who persuaded them to go back inside, and another attempt was made to resolve the situation. The record continued, "There is absolutely no doubt that the players fully believed the officials would cave in, for they returned to the stripping room with the determination of playing, provided they got an assurance of some sort that their desires would be gratified. Battles and Divers actually proceeded to divest themselves of their clothing. The second demand, however, was as futile as its predecessor, and so far as even gratifying them to the extent of approaching the press, the officials absolutely defied the trio to take any personal action in the direction of molesting any individual in the press box." The 19th century Three Amigos watched the match from the stand, and once word had spread as to the reasons for their absence from the team, the Daily Record reported, "The greatest indignation was expressed, and also the hope that the officials would make an example of the men." 15 minutes late, the match kicked off with Celtic's revised line-up reading: MacArthur, W. Maley, Doyle, Russell, Kelly, King, Gilhooly, Blessington, Crossan, Ferguson, T. Dunbar. Unfortunately, Tom Dunbar was playing for the reserves against Queen's Park at Hampden. A car had to be dispatched across the city to bring him to the ground, and he eventually arrived just after half-time. The Scottish referee reported on the 30th of November 1896, "Tom Dunbar has created a new record in taking part in 2 first-class matches on the same afternoon. Engaged at Hampden against Queen's Park Strollers, he was post-chased for by Celtic officials and hurried off to Parkhead, there to aid the Loyal 10 against the Hibernians. Dunbar readily obeyed the summons of his club, and when he turned out at Parkhead, he had a very generous reception." In a league season that then consisted of only 18 matches, Hibernian were top of the table with 23 points, while Celtic were 4 points behind, but with 2 games in hand. The match was regarded as a probable title decider, so the striking players had picked the worst possible moment to take their stand against the press. Against the odds, 10-man Celtic, with a semi-retired and out-of-shape Willie Maley in defence, had the better of the first half, the Daily Record reporting, "Every man seemed to do the work of two, and the Celts sailed into their opponents in a style which first staggered and then completely upset the dreaded combination of the Easter Road players. Maley partnered Doyle at back, where he was of immense service, his tackling and blocking being quite a revelation." Maley's inspirational display spread to the rest of the team, the record continuing, "MacArthur and Doyle brought off great feats of individual excellence. Kelly eclipsed all his fine performances this season by an almost irreproachable display, and Russell, responding to the spirit of the others, shone for the first time at right half." After Dunbar's arrival, Celtic scored 10 minutes into the second half, although reports vary on who scored from Maley's cross, with either Jimmy Blessington or Pat Gilhooly providing the finish. Just when it looked like an unlikely victory was secured, Hibernian equalised 3 minutes from the end and the points were shared. The result left the championship still very much in the balance, but with public opinion 100% behind the club, the three amigos were suspended, Celtic announcing none of them would play for the club again. In the following weeks, an injury-ravaged Celtic imploded, losing 3 of their last 5 league matches, and in January were humiliatingly knocked out of the Scottish Cup in a 4-2 defeat away to Arthurlie. All 3 of the strikers were gone before the end of the season. Meekin and Divers sold to Everton, while Battles was loaned to Liverpool before joining Dundee. Meekin played in the FA Cup final of 1897, Everton going down to a 3-2 defeat to double winners Aston Villa, for whom former Celt Johnny Campbell scored the opening goal. Campbell and 2 of Meekin's new teammates, David Storier and Jack Bell, would join Celtic before the new season kicked off in August. Both Battles and Divers were brought back early in season 1898-99, but Meekin never returned. As for Hibs, sitting pretty at the top of the league with just 3 games to go, well, they Hibsed it and finished in second place, 2 points behind champions Hearts.